If you show a polysomnogram to just anyone, it looks like a total mess, right? Just a bunch of chaotic squiggles. But for a sleep tech, it's a language. And that's our job, to decode that language. We take this really complex stream of data and translate it into the actual story of a person's night. And today, we're going to get you fluent.
So how do we actually do it? How do we take 8 solid hours of these raw signals and turn them into a map of someone's sleep that makes sense? Well, the best way to think about it is like learning a new language. And in this explainer, we're going to give you the alphabet, the grammar, and all the key phrases you need to know.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about getting the perfect setup, what I call setting the stage. Then we'll learn the alphabet of sleep, which are the basic brainwaves. After that, we'll get into the rules of staging, then navigating tricky transitions, and finally, we'll wrap up with mastering your tools. Let's dive in.
Okay, first things first. Before you can even think about scoring a single page of the study, you need a perfect canvas. A clean, reliable signal is absolutely everything. Because look, if your setup is sloppy, your staging is going to be wrong. It is as simple as that. Garbage in, garbage out.
This all starts with the International 1020 system. It's basically a universal map for the head that makes sure we're all doing it the same way, lab to lab. We measure from the nation, that's the bridge of the nose, to the enion, that little bump on the back of your head. And as you can see, every electrode spot has a very specific job. The frontal leads are perfect for catching those big, deep sleep waves. The central leads are where we're going to look for sleep spindles. And the occipital leads, back here, they're key for spotting wakefulness.
So once you're all wired up, you run biocalibrations. And this is not just some formality, okay? This is your signal integrity check. When you ask the patient to open and close their eyes, you're looking for that alpha rhythm to pop up and disappear. That confirms your EEG is solid. When they look left, right, up, and down, you're making sure your eye channels are deflecting correctly. And a quick teeth grit should give you a big burst on your chin EMG, confirming it's ready to measure muscle tone. This whole process basically verifies that the story you're about to read all night is actually true.
Okay, so our canvas is prepped and verified. Now it's time to learn the alphabet. When it comes to sleep staging, our letters are really just 4 fundamental brainwaves. If you can master these 4, everything else is going to fall into place, I promise. First up, the big one, delta waves. I want you to think of these as big, slow, rolling hills across your screen. They are the absolute defining feature of stage N3, our deepest, most restorative sleep. And here's the critical detail you have to remember. To actually count as a delta wave, its amplitude has to be greater than 75 microvolts.
Next up is theta. Now, this is the busy, low-voltage background noise you're going to be looking at for most of the night. It's kind of the default brainwave you see when a patient starts drifting off into N1, and it's what fills all the space in N2. It's basically the background hum of light sleep. And then we have the alpha rhythm. This is your #1 absolute clearest sign of wakefulness. You'll see this really clean picket fence pattern, especially in the occipital leads when the patient's eyes are closed but they're still awake. The second this rhythm disappears, well, that's when sleep is officially beginning.
And finally, the sleep spindle. Okay, this is probably one of the most important signals you'll learn to spot. It's this quick little burst, like a zing of faster frequency that lasts for at least half a second. So why is it so important? Because the very first time you see a spindle, your patient has officially, undeniably entered stage N2 sleep. It's a huge landmark.
All right, let's just do a quick review to lock this in. Delta, slow, high amplitude, means deep sleep. Theta, that's the low voltage background of light sleep. Alpha, that's your picket fence of wakefulness. And the spindle, that's the defining burst that tells you you're in N2. These are your foundational building blocks.
Okay, so we have our letters, now we need the grammar. We need the rules that tell us how to combine these waves into meaningful stages. This is how we actually build the story of the night, 1 page at a time.
And the fundamental unit of our language is the epic. We look at the recording in 30-second chunks. Every single one of those 30-second pages gets one and only one definitive label. Your entire night's story is written in these 30-second words.
So the first rule is the easiest one. You look at your 30-second epoch. If more than half of it, so more than 15 seconds, is filled with that classic alpha rhythm, you score it as stage W for wake. The very moment that alpha gets replaced by that low voltage theta for more than half the epoch, boom, you've crossed the threshold into stage N1. It's the doorway to sleep.
Now, for a hard and fast law you have to know, the 20% rule for deep sleep. This isn't about guessing. You get out your digital measuring tools. If high-amplitude delta waves take up 20% of the epoch, that's 6 seconds out of 30, you score at N3. Period. No exceptions. It's a strict, unambiguous measurement.
Scoring REM sleep is a bit different. It requires a trifecta of evidence. You can't just score it based on one thing. First, you have to see the chin muscle tone go flat. That's called atonia. Second, you see the namesake, the rapid, jerky eye movements in your EOG channels. And third, you often see these really distinct, notched sawtooth waves pop up in the EEG. You really need all three of these clues to confidently call it REM.
You know, sleep isn't just a smooth ride down into deep sleep and back up again. It is full of interruptions and bumps in the road. And this is where a lot of new techs can get tripped up. But if you just understand the logic of how arousals work, it's actually pretty easy.
So here's how the rule works in practice. Let's say your patient is cruising along in stage N2. Then, suddenly, there's a burst of alpha rhythm that lasts for more than 3 seconds. That's an arousal, and it basically resets their progress. The epoch that contains that arousal gets scored as N1, and you cannot score N2 again until you see another definitive sleep spindle. The arousal basically forces them to earn their way back into N2.
Finally, let's talk about tools. Just kind of eyeballing the screen isn't good enough if you want to be a great tech. Real precision, real accuracy, it all comes from knowing how to use your software's measurement tools correctly.
This is how you confirm what your eyes are telling you. So, to check if that delta wave meets the 75 microvolt rule, you actually use your digital calipers to measure from its highest peak to its lowest trough. And to confirm frequency, it's easy. You just count the number of wave cycles within a 1-second window. If you count 10 peaks in 1 second, well, that's 10 hertz, which confirms it's alpha. This is how we apply the rules with total confidence.
So there you have it. You've got the foundational setup, you've got the alphabet of brainwaves, and you've got the grammatical rules to put it all together. The signals on that screen are no longer just random noise. They're the words and sentences of a really fascinating story. So the only question left is, are you ready to start reading?